ran into the back room, and he came out. It was in a plastic box at the time. This is a different box. He took out that crane and he put it in the center of my hand, just a tiny little paper crane. And he told me that in 2010, they started donating her cranes around the world to places that need healing. The first crane was sent to the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. And this is what he said to me. He said, when we went to New York, we met the grandson of President Truman, the grandson of the person who dropped the atomic bomb. And I put the crane in his hand, like I've done for you, and I asked him the same question I'm about to ask you. Will you work with me to send a message of peace? And I was I'm 23 years old. I'm 27 now. I still think of myself as young. I was a kid. And I was 23, and I was like, I don't know what I can do to help. What could I do? What can I do? It's so hopeless, I thought. No, it's not hopeless. We can just talk together. You're American, I'm Japanese. It doesn't matter that my aunt was Sadako. It doesn't matter your grandfather was on the plains. You're American and I'm Japanese, and if we care enough for peace and we care enough for the future, we can come together and talk about it. So the next year, Sadako's family brought me and President Truman's grandson to Japan. And we met many, many survivors who asked us to tell their stories like I've just told to you. And they asked us never to forget their stories. And I hope that you'll never forget their stories too. That's President Truman's grandson on the right, and that's Sadako's nephew. And that's me. That's Keats and everything. So, I really wish I could, this was a smaller room and I could just ask you all a lot of individual questions, but how are we on time?
We have about 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Does anyone have any question? We can come up maybe and make answers and ask for the audience. Please?
Mike volunteer. Mike volunteer. Go now.
原爆に落とされたことについてどう思いますか？
What do you personally think about the bomb being dropped in Japan?
That's a good question.
You do it again.
Thank you for asking that question. You guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. That's a really good question. Thank you for asking. What do I personally think about the dropping of the atomic bomb? I don't think this is another really good point. In history, there's no such thing as truth. In historical wars, there's no such thing as truth. They always say that history is written by the victors. That means when you win a war, you get to tell everybody what was right about it and who was wrong about it. Many people believe that the atomic bomb was necessary to end the war. Then many people are angry that, well, why 2 bombs? Why Hiroshima, why Nagasaki? Why Nagasaki, right? So, personally, I think it's important not to, I don't think it's, for my personal feelings, I still don't really know how I feel because I used to think that it was good because it saved American and Japanese lives. But that thinking is out of date. It's not modern thinking anymore. And I think more importantly, besides blaming each other for the past or trying to decide what was right and wrong, what we can do is make sure it never happens again. So how can we make sure it never happens again? Well, in Japan, it's really easy. Right now, there's a question about the peace constitution. You guys are not voting age, but your parents are. So I think it's really good for you to go home and ask your brothers and sisters and your parents how they feel about Article 9, and ask them if they voted. Ask your parents if they vote. If they do not vote, then encourage them to vote for peace. Because maybe you can't go home and vote for peace. Maybe you feel like you can't do anything for your country. But Japan, you're Japanese. You're the ones in the world who are able to contribute to peace more than anyone right now because someone's questioning it. And if you change the Constitution, if you change peace, then it could bring more war. So I think it's really important. I think you have the biggest chance right now to focus on your future and make sure that there is no more Hiroshima and no more Nagasaki. You can't change what happened. None of us can change what happened. But you can change what's going to happen. And you can encourage your parents to care more about voting. Because I'm not saying they didn't vote. I want you to ask if they voted. And I want you to find out what they've been doing to make sure that their voice is being heard. We live in democracies. We're able to affect our own futures. So it's really important that we engage in those. And it's really important you start thinking about this now. Really it is. You might not be able to do something today, or go home tomorrow and change. But you're growing every day. And soon it's going to be your turn. And I think I'm young, but you must think I'm old. So I'm giving you the baton. It's baton touch. Now it's your turn. So I hope that you are able to learn from history. I hope you're able to see that history has many ways of seeing it. In America, people hate Japan for Pearl Harbor. In Japan, people hate America for Hiroshima. But what does that do? What good is it doing? So I want you to think about war, and I want you to try to think about it from another perspective. It's easy to be angry at America, but try to imagine what an American person thinks. Or a Jewish person compared to Nazis, or a Korean person compared to Japanese, or a Chinese person compared to Japan. So I want you to think about this other side. I want you to think about not just Japanese side, but I want you to look at the other people's perspectives who are feeling the same thing you are feeling from a different place. So it's a very complicated feeling to ask about how you feel about the dropping of the atomic bomb, but it makes me want to focus on the future, and maybe I hope that you are inspired to realize that you all can change your own future. I'm not Japanese. You guys are Japanese, so I was so inspired by the Peace Constitution before I came here in 2011. There was no question about Peace Constitution. Now it's a question. And the answer should be yes. Yes, we want peace. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. When you heard the stories of the survivors of Nagasaki, how did you feel? Like, did it change any opinions that you had or thoughts you had?
Yes. Yes, it did. I think for me, so that guy that burned back, there's a documentary in your school library called White Light, Black Rain. And there's it's called Taniguchi-san. When I met Taniguchi-san, he quietly took off, I'm not going to do it, but he took off his shirt and he showed me, but he showed me his scars. You can see his rib cage. You can see his rib cage. It's not the bones, but you can see where the skin wraps around his rib cage because of how bad his scars were. In the documentary White Light, Black Rain, he does the same demonstration. But to see that sitting in front of me as close as, well, this close in front of me, completely made me realize that that should never happen to anyone. It's not that I think my grandfather was a bad person, because he wasn't a bad person. He genuinely believed he was ending the war. But it's what war makes people do. That's really dangerous. So, no about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you asked, like, you heard stories from survivors, and I think that's like a really important, like, precious experience. And what are you planning to do after, like, in your life with that experience?
That's a really good question. Right now, I'm working with National Geographic. Has anyone ever heard of National Geographic? You know it? It's like a TV channel. Yeah, it's pretty cool place. So I'm gonna wait. Hey, you guys, you're always on here. Can you hear me? So I'm actually filming survivor testimony this year. That's why I'm here. From the 70th anniversary of the atomic bombs, and then also from the 5th anniversary of the nuclear disaster. I'm interviewing people who are affected by nuclear technology. That's what this is for that. It's called Hibakusha, the nuclear family. I blog every week for National Geographic, and you can look up the blog after. And right now I'm making a video documentary that will be on the internet at the end, but hopefully by the next anniversary. On the 71st anniversary. For now, I've written a book about their experiences. I'm filming their testimonies, and documenting the anniversary years. I think after this, the work for the atomic bomb is up to you. Shinpei Takeda, he's a graduate of Doshisha High School. I think he went to the middle school too. And he's a visual artist. He doesn't do filming. He doesn't film survivor testimony. He doesn't write a book about the survivors. He creates things with his own artistic mind. he's a very creative person. And I think that you don't have to necessarily write a book or make a documentary about it. Actually, it's not very creative to do that. If you're an artist, if you like to draw, if you like to act, if you like to sing, Yuji sings about his aunt's experience. I've seen an animator, Takeshi Umi. He's a famous animator, and he was so inspired by the story of Nagasaki that he made a movie about Nagasaki. You can do anything with it. You can be creative. And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it is up to you guys to think about what you can do with these messages. And I think you can be creative with it. I'm passing on from this after this year, I think. Once I finish this, it will always be available online as an archive. I've also contributed, I mean, this is kind of boring for your sake. The Truman Presidential Library has an archive of survivor testimony that they are building. The US President Truman Library. So I'm contributing my videos to their archive as well. So hopefully that whoever is in Independence, Missouri, will be able to learn from the survivors of the atomic bomb. And in that part of the country, it's really important for them to get that perspective. So, thank you. I think that's all the time. Does that mean that's all the time we have, or is that our school? The bell we're going over?
If there are any more questions, please feel free to raise your hand. David. Thank you.
Who do you think should be responsible for, I don't know, like as a war crime, or do you think nobody should be really responsible?
So you're saying, do you think Americans are responsible for,
No, like should anyone be blamed for
war crimes? Yes. Yes, there are people should be blamed for war crimes. I think. One more time?
Wait, so do you think?
Are you talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or in general for all war?
So, yeah, in general, like, what should be blamed for causing wars and things like that?
I think blame is a dangerous word. I wouldn't blame anybody. I think that there are people who commit atrocities, and we have to make sure that it's a very important question. It's a very important question. There we go. It's a very important question. It's a very difficult question to answer. I think that nuclear weapons are illegal. They violate war crimes. They constitute as a war crime. I think the entirety of World War II was illegal. I don't think anything that happened in World War II was good, but because America won the war, it would be impossible for them to try themselves as war criminals. I don't think that, I don't think my grandfather, it's very difficult because you have to define you're asking very, very high level questions that I think I'm really impressed for someone in junior high to ask. I think in college this is what people study, and even beyond, but you have to define what a war crime is. You have to define all of these things about what, who was killed and what happened, and I think in the sense, who is running the court. And when you look at, say, like the war ending, well, America, GHQ was in charge of Japan for many years. You had an American prime minister running Japan, so it would have never happened. They would have never tried the people for a war crime because they believed it ended the war. I think killing civilians is wrong, but I also think militarizing your entire country is wrong. And so if you're going to make everybody in this room a militant, that's the person that's responsible for doing that as a war criminal. So it's a very difficult question. And war, I hope you study political science when you're in school, because you already seem to be thinking about it now. So yeah, I hope that encourages you to keep studying deeper and deeper into it. Seriously. Thank you. I don't know, is there time? Yeah. One more question?
The last one.
Last question?
So, do you guys, do you believe in World War III? Like, now,
I think it already started.
I mean, do you think World War III might happen?
I think it's already started. If we're not careful, it's not going to end either. I think if you look, honestly, yeah, I think when history is over with this era, we're going to look back at what's been going on in the Middle East and realize that was the start of World War II. And I think that what we can do with that now, honestly, I think what we can do, I mean, and my opinions are just opinions, really, truthfully. But what we can do with that now is make sure that we handle it correctly. You know, we have this huge exodus of Syrian refugees right now, and the world is ignoring it. The same situations are happening. You have leaders in the world who are calling for nationalist opinions, who are trying to mimic what was happening in World War II. And I think if we're not careful, we're either on the verge of world peace or world war. I won't say it's already started, but if the world goes to war, this will have been the beginning of it. But we are either on the verge of world peace or world war. And I hope that we choose the first option. You guys are asking really good questions. I wouldn't be surprised. So.
Do you think that your grandfather was proud what he did for America?
He would never say the word proud. This is his exact words. He says, "There's no act of war that is a proud moment," but he did not regret what he did because he believed it ended the war. No one's proud of killing people. He was never proud of doing it, but he didn't feel guilty about what he did. He didn't go crazy over it either. He came to Japan in 1985 to meet a survivor and to come to Hiroshima. And the main thing he was talking about was making sure it doesn't happen again. And not necessarily like, well, I could say I'm sorry, but there's still going to be 60,000 nuclear weapons in the world in 1985. What's me apologizing going to do? So it wasn't saying he was proud of it, because he wasn't. No one's proud of anything they do in war, right? But again, it's about making sure that the future is, we're listening to these messages now, and we have to learn how to get along because we'll destroy each other if we don't. Yeah. Those are his words. That's his quote. Yeah, that's it. I'm not that tall.
I know for some the content, what we talk about may well be difficult. Particularly for the second grade, with you're now a month away, or less than a month away from going to Nagasaki. I hope that you take away what you've heard today, that when you're in Nagasaki, you take the opportunity to learn more. For the third grade, obviously, you had the experience last year. And again, for the first grades, this is something that you will have next